Hello and welcome to the Monster Painter. This time I get a bunch of Bones 6 miniatures painted up. All right, let's get started. The Reaper Bones 6 expansion, Lost Tombs of Hakir, give us 6 big chunky depictions of ancient Egyptian deities. These 3,000-year-old gods are depicted with a decidedly modern kind of superhero comic book pro wrestling style. I don't think someone from classical Egypt would even recognize these models. They are as far from a historic depiction as possible. But you know what? That's okay. It turns out we aren't ancient Egyptians. We are 21st century gaming nerds, so these depictions are just fine. Now, I think the way these models are posed, they are intended to be active depictions of the avatars of the gods interacting, maybe even battling the other characters on the tabletop. These miniatures have great details and would be excellent for that purpose as depicted on the box art. However, I prefer a much grittier low fantasy setting. The gods of my world would never trifle with the affairs of mere mortals. I do play a lot of Frostgrave, however, which is full of killer statues. As well, Bone 6 comes with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of models that I have to paint, so I went with a very simple bronze statue kind of color scheme. Easy to do and very well suited to the kinds of games that I play, and I'm going to get plenty of use out of these, and I think they look great as bronze statues. Now on to a truly dangerous character of Egyptian mythology. The model is also from the Lost Tomb of Hakir and depicts the lovely Lady Amit, a ferocious chimera meld of a lion, a crocodile, and a hippopotamus. You know, all the most dangerous man-eaters in ancient Egypt, and so a very scary monster. Mythologically, she participates in the judgment of the dead. When Anubis weighs your heart against the feather of truth, and it turns out to be too heavy, it becomes a snack for Amit, and your journey in the afterlife is over. Nothing scarier than annihilation, after all. I have already shoehorned this fine model onto the tabletop. She was painted up to fulfill the role of the Afank in that game of grim-dark whimsy, Forbidden Psalm. The Afank is a weird creature of Welsh folklore described as part beaver, part dragon, part crocodile, and all hangry. And you know Amit pulled off the role really well. Sticking with the Lost Tombs of Hakir, we have this great big post. Okay, it's really a grand pillar, reminiscent of those mighty pillars that filled the first chambers of ancient Egyptian temples, and it's quite convincing. I painted it up with layers of yellow and brown and black until it looked really, really old. The hieroglyphics probably contain the answer to some dangerous dungeon puzzle. And I'm hoping this baby hits retail because I could use a dozen of them to fill out the setting of an antediluvian mystery. Sticking with the Lost Tombs, we have a squad of fellows that have little to do with ancient Egypt and everything to do with classic horror cinema. For the ancient Egyptians, mummification was part of complex funerary rites intended to secure a comfortable existence in the afterlife. The idea that a mummy would reanimate and fight off tomb raiders would have been as alien to them as a peanut butter and tomato sandwich. But it is called fantasy for a reason. The only influence bigger on tabletop gaming than mythology and folklore is scary movies. Boris Karloff's classic 1932 film The Mummy all but invented the modern understanding of these terrifying monsters, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Ancient necromancers returning from the dead to pursue lost love, guarded by desiccated cloth-bound soldiers. That's adventure! That's excitement! Strangely enough, this pair of mummified cats from the Lost Tombs of Hakir are probably more historically accurate. The ancient Egyptians mummified all manner of animals as offerings to their gods or as grave goods, and these two have a suitable pose for such a role. But what fun is that, when they could be the familiar of an ancient lich, or even that ancient lich's precious phallocry itself? Maybe they are little tomb guardians protecting the contents from pesky rodents that might trespass and gnaw on their master's resting place. Because it's not all about Lara Croft. Every undead lord knows you need multi-layered, integrated security if you're going to keep what's yours, yours. Alright, now on to something from the core box. Mud is not the most dangerous or scary thing unless you get stuck in it and start to drown. But don't worry, we're not in some kind of never-ending story or maybe Passchendaele. So nothing to worry about, right? Unless maybe the mud comes alive like these two goopy blokes. They really bring me back to my old Advanced Dungeons & Dragons days and are excellent examples of that classic monster, the Mudmen. Created when enchanted waters mix with the soil, they become animated and are mindless, formless monstrosities whose primary attack is hurtling mud at people. Due to these qualities, the dreadful creatures often find great success in the world of partisan electoral politics. Now, while Mudmen are dirty, messy monsters, we have ourselves a real dangerous threat. From a different page in the Monster Manual 2, we have got ourselves a dangerous denizen of the dungeon, the Demilitch. You see, as it turns out, lichdom is a tenuous gift of immortality. The powerful magics that prevent a lich from meeting its maker can only slow the inexorable march of entropy, and over the centuries and the millennium, the lich's body and consciousness deteriorates until this mighty undead wizard is reduced to a skull, a couple of bones, and a pile of dust. This leaves the Demilitch to quietly snooze away the eons. And this is also where the fun happens, because just like the monster painter, the Demilitch is cranky as hell when he's rudely awakened from a cozy nap. So watch out whose bones you kick around. The wolf has to be the most ground-level foe for any kind of tabletop fantasy game there is. The fear of these wild canines is primordial and goes back into the deepest histories of our hominid ancestors. Eventually, some wolves would become our best friends, but not these guys. They hate our guts. The models do a great job characterizing these hungry predators. Real-world wolves come in a fairly wide range of color schemes and patterns. I went with the straight-up gray wolf scheme. It's simple, it's effective, it's identifiable, and now they are ready to menace those low-level players. Now, these two big blue spiders illustrate a problem with naturalistic color schemes. You see, a 28mm giant spider is about the same size as a big spider in real life. In real life, most spiders are darkly colored or straight black. This is largely because little black creatures are harder to see than ones with outlandish colors. While this suits a real spider's need to avoid detection by either its prey or by larger predators, it doesn't look inspiring on the tabletop. So naturalism be damned. I like my bug monsters in bright colors. This way they look good on the tabletop, and that's what I want. I went with a blue color for these two ladies because they will be getting work in my most favorite of all games, Frostgrave, doing duty as ice spiders, which obviously means they have to be blue. Now onto some mortal remains from Shadows of Sullenhall. We have some grim piles of bones. I really can't get enough of stuff like this. They are great for setting a tone and adding texture to the dungeon. They can indicate where the monsters spawn, represent clue markers, and be searchable for treasure. We all love treasure, don't we? I got these three painted up for use in that darkly humorous game, Forbidden Psalm. In the grim and gruesome world of Forbidden Psalm, you never run across treasure chests. It seems like all loot is forever marked by death, and so these spooky tokens are perfect for marking the treasures of the dying lands. I believe these two fellows are out of the Lost Tombs of Hakir, even though they don't look very Egyptian at all. Anyway, I painted them up to act as a spell effect. The spell Bones of the Earth from the School of Necromancy in Frostgrave causes a skeletal hand to reach out of the earth and grab a hold of an opponent's unit. This prevents that unit from moving until they are able to best the nuisance in combat. And as we all know, models are more fun than tokens. And this one's going to be great fun whenever I manage to get that spell to work. Bone 6 includes a whole bunch of transparent miniatures like this tragic and mournful ghost from the Grey Griffin Tavern. This kind of miniature represents an interesting challenge and a unique opportunity. My strategy is to prime the model with matte medium, which is transparent but allows watery washes to stick to the miniature, which might otherwise be a little hydrophobic. Now I add the washes to the miniatures in the recesses. This adds contrast and brings out the forms of the model. It is important to apply as little paint as you can get away with. The more you do, the less transparent the model will be. Now, if the model allows it, like this one does, it's very effective to paint one aspect of the miniature, in this case the ghost's noose, as opaque. Easy enough. This will act as a contrast to the transparent parts and make them pop. As for this particular lady, well, I imagine a length of rope the players use to tie up their provisions at night has a dark and tragic backstory, and is of course haunted. And there you have it, my first dive into that Great Big Bones Kickstarter. I've got a lot more dives to do before I even come close to finishing everything that was included. Anyway, now I think I want to see some of these models fight it out in the ring of battle! This time we have ourselves a real deathmatch, featuring this 10,000-year-old necromancer. He's been in the game a long time, and don't get him started about wizards today. Versus these 3 desiccated old goons. They've been jammed in that dusty old tomb for millennia, so they're just happy to get out of the house. Who will win? Who will be annihilated? Only the old bones have the answer! Well, it took a long time to get here, but it's not a long fight. And there you have it. Some die once, others die a second time. Oh, hello. I'd just like to take a moment to thank my channel members, Mark and Lauren. Your ongoing support is really appreciated. And if you would like to support the Monster Painter with a little bit of money, just hit that join button down there and you could gain early access to Monster Painter videos, digital badges, and an exclusive monthly members only monster fight. That's right, more monster fights. What more could you ask for? Maybe the forbidden knowledge of unknowable gods? You'll get that too. In other news, after I posted this image on Facebook, a person named Allison McKay turned it into this meme. And what an awesome meme. I love it. This really made my day. So thank you, Allison. You're awesome. More cheap junk from the thrift store. Ha ha. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and ring the bell! Ring the bell!
watching Les the Monster Painter.